Welcome back tuning into today's video. I hope your Christmas day is going superbly well. We're going to have a look at winter of 1946, 1947 today for Christmas Day, a very special historic video looking at winter of 46, 47. I did winter of 62, 63 last Christmas, of course, and I always knew that this Christmas I'd do 46, 47. Wasn't sure I'd be able to get it done because I've had quite a bit of illness going on, as I'm sure you know about, but I'm feeling a bit better. My eye has settled down quite nicely with the medication, so I am able to bring you on this Christmas Day the historic video for winter of 1946, 1947. Now, before I get on with the video, I just want to give a heads up to a few people that I couldn't have done the video without. Trevor Harley, the fantastic Trevor Harley, and his wonderful personal weather website. Much of the information that you hear in this video, because I wasn't born, as I'm sure you can see, in 1947, so I have no memory of it. Much of the information that you hear in this video will have come from Trevor Harley's personal weather website. The Historic Archive at weathercentral.de. Again, I couldn't do these historic videos without the Historic Archive. The archive goes right way back to January the 1st, 1871, and comes up to New Year's Eve 2012. The charts for 2013 haven't appeared yet, and I'm waiting on tenterhooks for them to appear so we can do a review of last winter and of course that incredible March. But yeah, the Historic Archive at weathercentral.de and the wonderful Trevor Harley with his personal weather website. In some instances, that website has information going right way back to the birth of Christ. So, incredible resource of information is Trevor Harley's weather website. You can find the link to both of those websites on my links page. Also want to give a quick heads up to Kevin Bradshaw. You may know him as Mr. Data or Mr. Data on some of the weather forums. He gave me quite a few pointers as well where I could look for this video. So again, thanks very much. Thanks so much, Kevin. Again, I couldn't have done the video without you. And all that I really want to say is thanks for watching on this Christmas Day. The video will be kept here on the home page for a few days, but then it will be put into the historic pages. So you can come excuse me, you can come back and watch the video whenever you want. It's going to be quite a long video, so if you can't watch it all in one sitting, don't worry, it will be on the website for as long as gabsweathervids.com is on the internet. So again, thanks so much for watching today on Christmas Day, and I hope Christmas goes on wonderfully well, and I hope you enjoy the video. So here we go on the 1st of December 1946, and here's the chart for the 1st of December 1946. Doesn't look like much, to be honest, does it? We've got typically westerly flow, low pressure around Iceland, high pressure in the Azores. There's certainly no indication of that, what's going to happen through the course of this winter. Now, December of 1946 had a central England temperature CET of 3.1 degrees. It was mild at the beginning, as you can see, with westerly winds. It's also mild at the end. A lot of people say that the winter of 46, 47 didn't start until around the 20th of January. It's not quite right, to be honest, because you're going to see, as we go through the charts, there's a lot of backwards and forwards through December and the first part of January between cold and mild conditions. So the hints are there of what's going to happen. Of course, nobody could have foresaw how severe it was all going to get late January and into February, but the hints are there through December and the first half of January with lots of backwards and forwards. But yeah, this is the chart for the 1st of December, the first day of winter, and we're in that westerly flow across many parts of the country, and we stay that way up to the 3rd of December as well. Actually, we get a snowfall in the northwest of the country as we bring some colder air in from the northern part of the Atlantic. But again, there's nothing really here to suggest particularly severe winter is coming. Now, as we move through to the 7th of December, things are starting to get a little bit more interesting. We've got high pressure really developing up to the north of Scandinavia and back in towards Russia. The Siberian high is very, very strong, and this is very early in the winter to be seeing such intense high pressure over western parts of Russia. These areas of low pressure coming up against that area of high pressure, but the high pressure is going to become the dominating factor as we move through towards the 10th of December. The low pressures are beginning to be pushed away to the south and to the southeast, and we're beginning to see that high pressure ridging from western Russia in towards Scandinavia. So as we move through towards the 12th and then on in towards the 13th, well, the high pressure is really taking over. 1060 millibars, very intense area of high pressure over western Russia, and that is starting to back the winds into an easterly flow across many parts of the continent. And we're also beginning to see those easterly winds begin to push in. So again, whilst you couldn't look at that and see or foresee that we're going to have a really severe winter through the rest of the winter, certainly that is unusual to see that at 1060 millibar area of high pressure over western Russia is very unusual in at any time in winter really, but particularly unusual in the early part of December. That would normally be expected. It's never expected really, but it would be more common later in winter, say in February, but for December that is very very unusual. So moving through to the 14th of December, we're bringing the Scandinavian high into, we're bringing high pressure into Scandinavia, so the proper Scandinavian high. Winds coming in from the east, so we're beginning to bring colder air in from the east, probably snow showers arriving on the east coast. And there we are in the middle of December in a proper easterly flow, a cold easterly wind bringing snow showers, particularly to eastern parts of the country. That easterly stays with us through the 16th and on into the 17th of December as well. A very classic easterly, that is, high pressure set up over Scandinavia beautifully, and we bring that easterly wind through many parts of central and northern Europe. Notice the low pressure through the Mediterranean. Always a prerequisite get a good area of high pressure over Scandinavia is to get low pressure corresponding somewhere around Italy, and yet we do have that as well. These are the upper air temperatures on the 17th of December 1946, showing that it is very cold, not just across Europe but into the British Isles as well. Those east winds have brought very cold air in, so undoubtedly there would have been snow being produced by those easty winds. So again, when people say that the winter of 46, 47 winter of 47 didn't start until late January, it's not right. There was cold weather earlier in the winter, but what happens is that the cold weather early in winter doesn't last. It sort of waxes and wanes between cold and mild. So here we go into the 20th of December with high pressure collapsing from Scandinavia down the country. No doubt very frosty, but what is undoubtedly going to happen here is that jet stream is going to re-establish in time for Christmas. And as we move through towards Christmas Eve, the westerly winds are pushing through, possibly bringing more snow there across the country. But by the time we get through to Christmas Day, well, we're in that westerly flow then, and milder air is pushing through across the country. And the rest of December into Boxing Day and on in towards New Year's Eve is mild and unsettled with areas of low pressure. Although again, New Year's Eve, 31st December 1946, high pressure is beginning to build again over Scandinavia and back in towards western Russia. So it's an idea that the high pressure keeps coming back to the east of the country. But at the moment, the Atlantic is still having some say, the milder westerly winds are still having some influence on us. So as we go through to the 1st of January 1947, and this month has a central temperature of 2.2, probably not as cold as you would suspect, and I'll show you the reason it wasn't as cold as you would suspect in a moment. And again, it's sort of that battle taking place between the high pressure up over Scandinavia, backing into West Russia, and the low pressure from the Atlantic, trying to push Atlantic, milder sort of Atlantic air in across the country. And no doubt it was pretty mild at this point. Now, as we go through to the 4th of January 1947, the high pressure over Scandinavia is taking over the pattern once again, with these areas of low pressure starting to stall in the Atlantic. Very strong polar vortex there, actually, to the south of Greenland. But the high pressure is sort of bullying that polar vortex here at 1,050 millibars, very intense over Scandinavia once again. And winds are trying to go back into the east. Now, there's weather fronts pushing in from the Atlantic, and what's going on here is I've got a classic sort of battleground UK scenario with snow being produced by weather fronts coming up from the Atlantic into that high pressure, stalling as the cold easterly wind undercuts. That is a classic sort of battle. The weather front will be lying straight down across the country, producing that snow. And it's still there as we go into the 6th of January 1947, although by now the low pressure is beginning to stall out of the Atlantic. Once again, the high pressure is trying desperately to take over the pattern, and no doubt the snow will be pushing further west. Actually, the east will probably be drying up with that. As we move through to the 8th, well then the Atlantic starts to break through, and we're going to see the high pressure receding back again a little bit as we move through to the 10th. So this is the milder pusher there. That means that we don't have sort of cold month that you would probably suspect we would have. The Atlantic pushes through on the 10th of January 1947, and then we establish the westerly winds with areas of low pressure bringing outbreaks of rain across the country. Notice how far back that high pressure has been pushed in towards the central part of Russia. It's a long way back. You wouldn't think that within a few days it's going to be turning exceptionally severely cold and snowy from that chart, would you? But there we go, we're in the westerly winds on the 14th of January, bringing outbreaks of rain across the country. As we move through to the 16th of January 47, we get an exceptionally mild spell setting up. Got the low pressure around Iceland, the high pressure is building across central parts of Europe. Absolutely no sign of any northern blocking at all there. Notice how far back the southwesterly winds are going right to the tropical Atlantic. So temperatures on the 16th of January 1947 get up to 14 Celsius, 57 Fahrenheit, absolutely remarkably mild, right through this middle part of the month. We cut off the very mildest of bad areas, move through to the 17th, but still mild, with westerly winds coming in across the country. And then things start to get very interesting as we move through to the 18th. The 18th was a very mild day, but high pressure is building up from the south. Now, what you're going to see is something very unusual evolution is going to start this very severe spell off. We've got high pressure moving from Central Europe in towards southern parts of the country, still bringing up a very mild west to southwesterly wind. But look where this high pressure starts to go. Let's get through to the 19th. It's moving further north, so it's covering the country, and probably by now we're starting to get some frost, although it would still be quite mild by day. But as we move through to the 20th, look what's happening. The high pressure is there over the country. But notice this high pressure up to the very far north of the chart, poking in from the Arctic. This high pressure is essentially being sucked up from Central Europe into an Arctic area of high pressure. We've got low pressure to the east and northeast of the country with a very extensive cold pool. So we've got the cold air waiting as this high pressure gets sucked up into that Arctic high, and there we go. On the 21st, high pressure is properly now ridging to that area of high pressure in the Arctic. So now it is starting to turn cold. It's not particularly severely cold at this point, but it is turning a lot colder. There will be a lot of frost, I think, going on at this point, but it's really the next day as we get through to the 22nd of January that we start to kick things off with the high pressure setting up over Scandinavia. Winds very light, but winds are going into the east, starting to pull that cold air in from the east. No doubt there'll be some snow showers starting to appear on the east coast. And then there we go. If we get through to the 23rd of January, it's all in place. The blocking area of high pressure over Scandinavia. The easterly winds feeding in that very bitterly cold air. Snow showers starting to appear on the east coast. And for the 24th of January, on into the 25th, it really is a case of that easterly setting in more and more. So bitterly cold air is now starting to feed in from the east across many parts of not just the British Isles, but many parts of Europe being plunged into the freezer. You have to remember this is a post-war winter. We've still got rationing going on, so things are still very grim. Large parts of our cities which were bombed out through the through the war, the Second World War, are still in a tremendous state of decay. We've got tremendous hardship going on, rationing, poverty. The last thing we need is a severely cold winter, but that is what was awaiting the poor people who had to suffer this through 1947. So there's the easterly wind coming in across British Isles on the 26th of January, no doubt producing a lot of snow in the east of the country. And as we move through towards the 28th, well, then we're starting to see low pressure beginning to leak away from the south. We start to get our first major snowfall of this winter taking place as this cold pool starts pushing from the east. And look what happens, we develop an upper area of low pressure that's indicated by these kinks in the ice bars. That's bringing heavy snow, a wave of heavy snow across much of England and Wales. Probably not too bad for Scotland actually, and that is something else that typifies this winter, and it has in common with 1963 as well. In that the worst of the snow is across England and Wales. It's less snowy across Scotland, and that's because we don't get quite as many northerly winds. We get lots of easterly winds, and England and Wales is always exposed to that easterly wind. So there's low pressure sitting to the southwest of the country as we move through to the end of January 1947. That's producing heavy snow down across the Scilly Isles, and actually there's 17 centimetres of snow on this day, the 30th of January, in the Isles of Scilly. Many parts well below freezing by day through this period. The maximum at Writtle was only -5 degrees, and that's the case across many parts of eastern England as well at the end of January 1947. A bitterly cold spell of weather. That area of low pressure producing copious amounts of snow down to the south as we go through to the last day of January. And then we're on into February, and what a historic month February 1947 was. It was the second coldest month of the 20th century, just beaten by January 1963. It had a central temperature of -1.9. To put that in context, it's about a degree and a bit colder than December 2010. It was the coldest month up to this point since January 1814, so we've gone a long time. Despite that, the Victorian era was very notable for its severely cold and snowy winters. We've gone a long time since we've seen a month quite as severe as this. So we start February 1947 with that area of high pressure still dominating to the east of the country. Got low pressure down to the south, producing snow in the south, and this area of low pressure in the mid-Atlantic is going to try to push in and attack. So here we go on the 3rd of February 1947. Low pressure is coming in up against that blocking area of high pressure. Look at all the blocking across Scandinavia, starting to stretch out towards Greenland as well. Low pressure pushing in from the southwest, producing lots of heavy snow. Tightly packed ice bars as well, so we've got drifting snow going on here, and it's particularly for Ireland, Wales and England, probably less bad for Scotland. That low pressure is still sitting to the south of the country as we move through to the 4th of February, still producing copious amounts of snow and drifting for much of England and Wales. Again, less snowy probably up across Scotland. Go through to the 5th of February, that low pressure sinks away to the south, and then we're opening the floodgates to a real easterly blast. Look how far back the isobars are going here. They're going right way back in towards western parts of Russia, bringing bitterly cold air across the continent, becoming increasingly blocked. The pattern is getting increasingly severe there, with blocking beginning to stretch from Canada, through Greenland, through Iceland, through Scandinavia, and back in towards the Arctic and parts of Russia as well. And things just go from bad to worse as we move through to the 7th. We've got low pressure again trying to attack from the southwest, bringing more heavy snow into the south and the southwest of the country. All the blocking is up to the north and to the northeast. So again, it remains bitterly cold and probably mainly dry to the northeast across Scotland, but the heavy snow is advancing in from the west, and that just goes on as we move through to the 8th. No breakdown in the pattern. Blocking to the north and the east holds sway. The low pressure trying to come in from the southwest, weather front strung out, producing lots of heavy snow, particularly for England and Wales, and it just goes on into the 9th as well. Now by the time we get through to the 12th, so that first 10 days of February, very snowy with several snow events going on, particularly for England and Wales, as those weather fronts try to get in. By the time we get through to the 12th, the low pressure is starting to sink away to the south of the country. And then we're beginning to open the floodgates then to the easterly wind once again. So as we move through towards the middle of February, well, very much high pressure dominating over Scandinavia, with those bitterly cold easterly winds feeding in across the country. Many parts of the British Isles actually have frost that lasts for many days through this period, from the 10th through to the 26th of February. Oxford, for instance, didn't lift the frost out of the ground. There's some bitterly cold nighttime temperatures as well, getting down to -21 in some places. It's also very dull with these easterly winds, and a lot of places didn't see much sunshine all month. For instance, I've just got to look at my notes. At Kew Gardens, for instance, from the 2nd to the 22nd inclusive, we only get 17 hours of sunshine through this month, and a lot of places go through the month with very little sunshine at all. And I say from Kew Gardens from the 2nd to the 22nd, we don't get any sunshine, and there's only 17 hours recorded throughout the whole of the month. So that just goes to show you how dull it was with these east winds. Must have been an incredibly grim and depressing month. A lot of weather fanatics would love to have a month like this, but to actually go through it in a time of such poverty, with rationing, with many of the cities still bombed out, it must have been an incredibly grim time. And no sunshine hardly at all through the month, copious amounts of snow, temperatures below freezing, severe frost at night. And remember, we've not really got much in the way of heating in the homes as well either. We've probably mainly got open fires. Some places still probably don't even have electricity. It's a very very hard time, I think, and we often forget, and this is one of the things that concerns me, actually, just getting on my soapbox a little bit. This is one of the things that concerns me about the newspaper headlines that we get now, talking about we're going to have the coldest winter since 1947, we're going to have the worst weather since 1947, because there's people alive now that still live through that winter. We've still got people alive that went through that winter, and for those people, they're very elderly now. They must it must scare them to death to think that winter is going to be repeated. They went through it again in 1963, and it must be a very scary prospect when they read it in their papers that they're going to live through this again. And people just need to be a little bit careful. I think forecasters need to be a little bit careful about the language they use, and newspapers as well, because there's a lot of people that wouldn't want to live through this winter if they had to again. So we move through to the 17th of February. Well, again, we've got those easterly winds blowing across, bringing that bitterly cold air in. No doubt these winds are producing snow in the east of the country in particular, but look how blocked it is from Greenland, through Iceland, into Scandinavia. Temperatures are below freezing. It's very gloomy, and the pattern just gets more and more extreme. So here we are on the 20th of February 1947, and we're setting up a 1065 millibar area of high pressure over Greenland, and we've still got that blocking extending from Canada, the coast of Canada, through Greenland, into Iceland, through Scandinavia, back into Russia as well. Look how far the easterlies are going. They start in Russia, they go through the continent, through British Isles, through the Atlantic, and they arrive in Canada. That is a very unusual, very extreme scenario. Now the low pressures are starting to attack from the south once again at this point, and we're going to set up another snowstorm as we move through to the 23rd, on into the 24th, and into the 25th. There's low pressure coming into that high pressure, producing copious amounts of snow. Once again, major snowstorm occurred across many parts of the country through this period, the 25th and 26th of February. Now, Buxton in Derbyshire is having 30 days of frost through this period, and the highest temperature that we get all month in Kew Gardens is just 5 Celsius. But this is a particularly snowy spell through the 24th, 25th, and on into the 26th as well. That low pressure is still there to the west of the country, still producing copious amounts of snow. This time it's also further north as well, probably impacting Scotland and Northern England, but nowhere is immune from that snow. Drifting snow, blowing snow, really is quite extreme and severe. And we end February, we end the winter of 1947 with the cold air still holding sway, still lots of blocking to the north, still low pressure to the south, producing more heavy snow across England and Wales in particular. So there we go, it's going to March 1947, and now the people at the time must have been wondering whether there was ever going to be a let-up in this. And there's no let-up at this point. The 1st of March, very, very cold, bitterly cold, with low pressure to the east, still producing heavy snow. The central temperature for March 1947 was 3.6, not as cold as the March just gone, 2013, and the reason is that we're going to get a push of warmer air as we go into the middle of the month. But at the start of the month, it's still very, very cold. We're getting minimum temperatures of minus 21 in some places, and we're still getting lots of heavy snowfall as well. As we move through towards the 4th and on into the 5th, low pressure is again attacking from the southwest. There's more weather fronts. Can you believe this? It just goes on and on and on, doesn't it? There's more weather fronts strung out, producing yet more heavy snow as these low pressures try to come in from the Atlantic, hit that cold air, hit the blocking, and produce more blizzards, drifting. We've got drifts going over 20 metres now across large parts of England and Wales, and not just on high ground, but in sort of rural localities across much of England and Wales. We cut off because we've got huge snow drifts. My grandparents used to talk about the snow being up to the top of the lampposts and that kind of thing as we go into this period at the start of March. The absolutely extraordinary sights, and I'll show you some pictures at the end of the video from this winter. It was absolutely extraordinary how those drifts occurred. As we go through the 6th, there's no change in low pressure to the south, still producing more heavy snows, tightly packed ice bars still blowing that snow around, drifting and blizzards. No doubt, as we move through to the 7th, the low pressure's easing off to the east, and ice bars are opening out. We're covered with snow now, of course, so we're getting very severe frost taking place. And some parts again going below minus 20 through this period. Now, as we go through to the 8th, we're going to start to see the pattern relaxing. So as we get through to the 9th, then the low pressure is trying to push back in from the Atlantic, and it's trying to introduce more air. And here we go on the 10th. Yep, the low pressure starting to push in. The winter is finally, after 10 severely cold days in March and the whole of February, since the 20th of January, the winter is finally beginning to ease down. The winds are turning to the south. No doubt bringing another area of snow through across the country, but this time it's turning back to rain down in the south. No doubt freezing rain as it falls onto those deeply frozen surfaces, which, remember, haven't lifted above freezing for several weeks. But, yep, the milder air is starting to push in. As we move through to the 12th, on into the 13th, we're probably bringing blizzard conditions up to the north of the country. There was quite a significant blizzard for Scotland, Northern Ireland and Northern England through this period as this milder air tries to advance in. Remember, Scotland hasn't had it too bad, really. Most of the snowstorms have been further south, but Scotland does get it through this period. But the winds are going southerly across southern parts of the country, and milder air is coming in. It is a struggle, though. It stays cold as you get through to the 14th. With low pressure now bringing heavy rain to England and Wales and heavy snow to Scotland. And then on the 16th, we bring another push of warmer southerly southwesterly winds in from the Atlantic. Again, more outbreaks of heavy rain sweeping in across country. And this is a very rapid thaw taking place now as we move through towards 20th. Away from Scotland, most areas are getting a very rapid thaw. We've got heavy rain with these areas of low pressure coming in. The temperatures have really lifted up, and as I say, the snow is very quickly thawing, unlike 1963, which just fizzled out, really, and it was just a very, very gradual increase in the temperature at the end of February and into March. So the snow just went very, very slowly. This one ends much more dramatically with lots of heavy rain and a very sudden increase in temperature, and of course all of that snow, you know, I'm sure you've heard what happened, all of that snow melted rapidly, ran into the rivers and caused tremendous flooding, and I'll show you some pictures at the end of the video from that flooding. And then we get through to the 25th of March 1947, and, well, we're in a westerly wind then. It's turned milder, the winter is over, everything is thawing out at last. So, that's it. That was the winter of 1946-1947. Some incredible charts in there as well. But I think from the charts, it's hard to sort of gauge how severe the conditions were, perhaps. So let's have a look at a few pictures. Here's one showing, look at this, the snow going well over this car. A massive snow drift there. That's snow on snow on snow, and you've had plows or tractors probably coming through, pushing those snow drifts off into the margins, and the snow just piles up, piles up, piles up. But many, many feet of snow there. It's incredible to see how that snow is towering over that car. His snowdrift well above a human man, well above a man. What would that be? The man is probably about 6 foot, so halfway to that snowdrift. So you've probably got 12 foot of the snowdrift there. Absolutely incredible scene. There's a bus stuck in a snowdrift. Not sure what could have happened there. Maybe the snow came down very, very suddenly and the bus got stuck, but eventually it looks like the snow pretty much drifted over the top of the bus. In fact, there's some people standing on the top of the snowdrift, and they are on a par with that bus. Again, very incredible scenes. And then another snowdrift picture with a car there being dwarfed by a huge mound of snow on the verges. And you can imagine how much flooding there was when all this snow melts out, when it falls, and it did fall very quickly. The water's got to go somewhere, and there we have a scene of flooding from March 1947. And again, more flooding in March 1947, absolutely incredible sights there. And then as we go on to the final picture, well, again, just look at all that flooding. Flooding really as far as the eye can see across the fields. This is taken in Oxfordshire, I think, flooding as far as the eye can see. And what you have to keep in mind about those snow pictures in particular is that they're not just confined to the northern high ground. A lot of times you still can see snow pictures, snow drifts sort of pictures as extreme as that today, but it's usually confined to the North York Moors, the Scottish Mountains, the Welsh Mountains, very high ground. Those snow pictures are taken from places like Oxfordshire, Northamptonshire, Bedfordshire, not particularly city areas, but not high up, and sort of Middle England basically being hit by those snow drifts. And even in the cities, we've got huge piles of snow through London, through Oxford, through the town cities, through Norwich. We've got big snow drifts even in the middle of the cities, bringing the country to a halt in a time of extreme poverty. And it must have been a grim time for those people living through that. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Weather enthusiasts today would love to see a winter like that again, and no doubt at some point we will get a winter like it again. December 2010 tells us that we can still get those very extreme blocking patterns, and if you extend it through January and February, we will get a winter on a par with that, or we could get a winter on a par with that again, even with global warming, even with climate change. If you get the pattern in the right place, then you're going to open the floodgates to the north, and you're going to bring in lots of cold air and the potential for heavy snow. December 2010 proved it can still happen, and I'm sure, whether it'll be in our lifetimes, but I'm sure one day it will. That's it for now. I hope you enjoyed the look at winter of 1946-1947. Everything will be back to tomorrow at gasweathers.com. Enjoy the rest of your Christmas day. And remember, if you want to see video again, it'll be hanging around at website now for the Solid website is on the internet. So you can come back whenever you want and view video. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Christmas day, and bye for now.